Abu Ali's tells this story about what happened to him, his friend, and the genie. One day he went out late at night with a friend of him for a walk. They talked about funny stories, remembering hilarious situations that have occurred in the past. They were so distracted that they didn't realize that they were walking far away from their village until arriving to the neighbor village. They walked all that distance without feeling that they were that far from their position. That was actually so strange. They decided to return, but his friend said that he wanted to visit his aunt living in this village and asked him to go back home alone as he wanted to spend the night at his aunt's. He wasn't bothered because his friend mentioned 2 days ago that he would visit his aunt and blesses her son for his recovery from a serious disease. And then he went to his aunt and Abdulaziz returned home. He felt tired and cold. He decided to cut short the distance and went through an isolated and empty area. Abdulaziz was walking in that isolated and deserted area on his own. It was very dark. Clouds covered the moon. It was silent. He could only hear the sound of friction of his feet on the ground and the bark of the distant dogs that doesn't know the meaning of silence and sleeping. Suddenly, he heard a voice coming from the village where he left his friend. He didn't pay too much attention to that, but he felt that the sound was coming closer to him. He stopped and held his breath so he can hear it clearly. It was only seconds until he heard someone calling his name. "Abdulaziz, wait for me, I am coming." He said, "Oh my God, I don't know any man in this village. Who is coming in this deserted area asking me to wait?" The only explanation was that the man calling him should be his friend, getting back from his aunt and deciding to return home with him, as it was in fact embarrassing to pay visits that late. A matter of minutes and he could see his friend approaching. "Didn't you fool tell me that you will spend the night with your aunt and her family?" "I am sorry, Abdulaziz. I knocked the door and nobody answered. I found out that they are on a visit to one of the relatives, so I went back immediately." "Oh well, it's all right." Then they walked a bit and suddenly his friend asked him to stop. He whispered, "What's the matter?" He told him he lost 500 lira, $4, and must find them. That was awkward. The amount was not worth to look for it in that cold. "When did you lose it?" "On our way to come here." Here, Abdulaziz found out that a strange thing is happening. They too didn't come this way, but they came from the other way, and he alone who walked in this place to shorten the distance. Here he became suspicious, as either his friend was a liar having bad intentions, or very strange thing happened to him, making him gibbering what he doesn't know. He was looking for his lost money like crazy, as if he missed treasures. Abdulaziz offered him to come back in the morning, as it's easier to find money during the daylight. But he refused and insisted on continuing his search. Then he offered him to give him money, but he met him with a vigorous rejection. At that moment, Abu Ali's realized that it was a waste of time and decided to return home, but he refused and begged him to stay with him. He started to feel that he was threatened. He never knew his friend was that fond of money. He wondered, how did he know that he was taking this route back home? Then he saw him out of breath like a dog panting. Abu Alis was terrified. Horror began to creep into his heart. He remembered when he was a kid, he heard that strange things occurred in that region. Then he said to him, I will not come back until I find the money. He usually carried a small flashlight in his pocket. He used it when necessary. He put it on and pointed the light at his friend's head, and then was a disaster. His ears were long like a demon. His face was laughing as opposed to his actions. His eyes were completely white and dull like a dead body's eyes. Oh my God, it's a ghost, not my friend. And when he realized that he discovers who he was, he started attacking. He breaking exactly like a dog. He remained standing there, seeking the protection of God and reading Quran until he escaped and disappeared. This was thanks of God. Abu Alis went back to his house and was terrified of those weird occurrences. And he remained for days and weeks so absorbed until he understood that what happened was the result of friction of jinn and humankind.